Hi Year 10. Again, unfortunately I can't be there. I will be back on Monday. Hopefully your homework, if you've done it for your test assessment, is on my desk at the front. If it's not, then basically what grade can I give you? Because I've got no evidence to say where you're at. So if you've not done that, you need to hand that in by tomorrow. Otherwise your first current grade will end up being a 1. Okay, so you get a 1 out of the possible 9 because I've got no evidence for you to say how well you're doing apart from reading your book. So I need to see that in test conditions. So that's not done. Make sure it's done. Obviously, if it's not done and I come in on Monday and it's still not there, guess what? You're on behaviour track and you're getting detention. So please make sure that is done. If you don't know the answers to some of the questions and you really like a real test, you'd hopefully you go and find it online. But again, in a real test, you'd have to have a go at them. So if you want to, like, keep saying, "Sir, can you help me?" Well, I would help you if I was there. However, really, you should know the answers to most of those questions. If there's a couple you don't know, you'll have to use them blank, and we'll just kind of mark them as we see them. So today we're going to learn about RAM and ROM, the differences between them, and why do we have ROM and why do we have RAM. When we talk about ROM, you might be thinking about a CD-ROM, which it is ROM, but we're talking about actually ROM that's inside the PC, actually fixed on normally the motherboard or other devices that it's used at the very start to boot up the PC. So, what do you think the difference between these two are? So on the left hand side we've got RAM, on the right hand side we've got a solid state hard drive. They both don't have moving parts. They've both got a lot of similarities as well as differences to them. So turn to the person next to you, and then in your book, the title today is RAM versus ROM. The date is the 6th. Make sure they're both on the line nice and tidy, please. And you might have to bear with the tables because I'm not there to sort them out quite yet. And then, yeah, so put in, what would you put them as? What's the thing on the left, what's the thing on the right, and what are the differences between them? So, the video's been paused. Hopefully you're done that for 4 or 5 minutes. Moving on, the left one, like I said, is RAM. Differences are RAM is incredibly fast. It's fixed into your motherboard, and most people's PCs will have somewhere between 4, maybe 16 gig. Yes, you can get 64 and other things in there, and that's primary storage. That stores things while the computer's in use, but it's volatile, so it forgets things when it's turned off. The thing on the right is a solid state hard drive, which is an example of secondary storage. Secondary storage, is used to store data permanently and is non-volatile. Okay? So, what does RAM stand for? Hopefully, most of you think in your head, well, RAM stands for Random Access Memory. What is RAM? Well, RAM is what's used in your computer when it's currently doing things, okay? That currently part to be underlined if you want to write in your book. So RAM is used to store currently used instructions, data, and programs. You can write that in your book. So RAM is used for currently stored data, programs, and instructions. Okay? How much does your PC at home or your laptop or tablet have, or your phone possibly have, in terms of the amount of RAM it's got, so it can store lots of things at once? I'll turn the person to have a quick chat and then we'll continue off in a second. Okay, so our learn outcomes today are to learn the difference between RAM and ROM. What is the purpose of RAM in a computer system? What is the purpose of ROM in a computer system? Our keywords are on the side there. We've looked at most of them before, but it's now getting this distinction between what's primary, that's kind of used all the time as it's going on until it's switched off, and secondary, that is used during the computer being on, but also stores data after. So, what you need to do is, I've put this presentation on the blog for you. No one in this class is going to do green root. It's far too easy for you. You can discuss with the person next to you. It's on a PC, and you're going to take your book with you because you're going to write answers in your book. You're going to click on the red root, and you're going to answer the questions. Okay. So if you want, you can do this on the PC, but you will have to somewhat print out and put in your book. I'm fine with that. So you need to make a copy. The appropriate RAM allocation with graphics designer is, so you need to have the PowerPoint up. Would you think for a graphics designer you need 1, 2, 4, 8, or 16? Next one, you can use any of these twice if you want to as well, as long as you explain and justify. A video editor, what would they need? Lots of video editing, probably quite a bit of RAM. A heavy gamer. Most people have probably got a PC game. Realize that most PC games that are decent have lots of RAM requirements. And then a man who loves browsing Facebook and playing Candy Crush, Probably not that much, but how far would you go? Is 1 too little? Not a lot of RAM with 1 gig of RAM these days. Even your mobile phone probably has 2, 3, maybe 4 gigs of RAM in. So for a PC to have 1 gig of RAM, it's probably going to be pretty slow and going to find it really hard doing things. So you're going to basically, either in your book or using this, you make a copy, you're going to answer the questions in full sentences with full stops and justifying your reason. So we're going to give you 8 minutes, that's 4 things, that's 2 minutes each, to go and fill that in. Obviously, Sir or Miss will pause the video and then you will come back to this in a second. So that's on the blog to go through the links. Okay, next thing is, in your book, you are going to put in, you've already got a date and title, you're going to draw this, okay, a table out. RAM, ROM, what does it stand for? What's in the RAM and ROM? Can it be changed? Give you a hint, ROM cannot be changed, but RAM can. What happens when the power is turned off? Well, RAM retains the data, that's wrong. RAM loses the data because it's volatile, and ROM retains the data because it is non-volatile. You can do a little bit of research as well. What's the average size? So what does RAM stand for, ROM stand for? You can do a bit of Google research and fill that table. So that's probably take you about 7 or 8 minutes again. I'm going to pause the video, Sir or Miss, and then you're going to go have a go at doing that. Okay, so what's the difference between RAM and ROM? What I'm going to do is, rather than do it on this video, again, I'll put this in the email to Miss or Sir to put on. If you could scroll through this slide and play this video, because otherwise it can be quite glitchy and quite jerky if it's on my PC recording. So it's recording and it gets a bit confusing. So you're going to watch the video there and know the difference between RAM and ROM. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back to this, and do you think that's good enough? Do you want to add anything to it? So you probably learned that RAM, currently stored instruction. The ROM is used to store your BIOS, basic input output system, and to start up your PC. So your PC or tablet or whatever does not use the RAM at the start. It does a kind of few self checks and it passes it on to something called the kernel, which is the bottom part of the operating system to get things started. So you just make sure that's fully filled in, 2-3 minutes to make sure that's fully spot on filled in full depth. Okay, for the demonstrate part of the lesson, you're going to answer these 2 questions in your book. You must also write down the question. Do not just put the answer. So these are all questions from the exam papers. So a computer has 1024 megabytes of RAM. How many gigabytes does that have? And we looked at the size the other day. State 2 items that can be stored in the RAM. Now you said about currently, what was currently stored earlier on. So you should write 2 proper sentences, not just kind of a couple of bullet points. Full sentences they're looking for, because in your exam, if you write down computer science things that aren't full sentences, they can penalise you and take the marks off you not in a full answer. So full answer there, please, for both those questions. So write down the questions and then answer them. So about 3 minutes, you'd have about 3 minutes in the exam. I'll give you 6 minutes because you've got to write the questions off the board. Off you go. Again, Miss or Sir is going to pause the video. Okay, there were the answers. So basically, it's 1 gig of RAM. So 1024, remember, it's 1 gig of RAM. However, they would also accept if you divide it by 1000 to get 1.024. You don't necessarily have to put gigabyte because the question asks gigabytes, but I would put gigabytes in just in case. And the other thing is, and it's got to be the word currently here. If you don't put the word current, you're not getting a mark. So really important, if you've not put that, you're going to put current in and put a yellow highlight with it, one of the ones on the desk. So you could have put currently used parts of the operating system, or currently used programs, currently used data. You could also put currently used instructions. Notice here it says accept instructions for programs. So give yourself a quick mark on that. Give yourself a couple of ticks. If anything you need to go back and improve, go and improve it. Right. This is a bit of a bigger task. Again, I don't mind if you do this on a PC or you do it on your books. Not totally bothered. You're going to write a short newspaper article reviewing the memory, primary and secondary. What's the specifications of an Xbox One and a PS4? So find out for an Xbox One and a PS4 how much RAM, how much ROM, what secondary storage device does it use? Is it a magnetic hard drive? How big is that hard drive? Is it solid state? How big is that solid state drive? Do a little bit of research online to find out information, and you're going to write a newspaper article. So once you find your research, you've got to structure it as a mini article. Again, either book or paper. A book, sorry, or PC, but if you do it on PC, we'll have to later print out and stick it in your book, so please leave space in your book so we can put that in. So that will probably take us a vast majority of the rest of the lesson, 15 to 20 minutes to go and do that. Obviously, hopefully we'll get on the next bit. Again, Miss or Sir will pause the video and then you can crack on with the rest later. So, To review what we've learned today, RAM stands for Random Access Memory. It's used for storing the OS currently being used, programs currently being used, data currently being used, and add on their instructions currently being used. You do not use the word currently, they will not give you the mark, and I will not either, so please make sure you get that. It's volatile, so it needs power to retain data. Normal size is somewhere between 2, maybe these days 16 gig, so my PC home's got 16 gig. Some of you might even have more RAM. The more RAM, the faster your computer will be due to not having to use what's called virtual memory. Don't worry about what that is yet, but we will go through that. ROM stands for read-only memory. It's used for storing the startup instructions or boot instructions, also as what's all called the BIOS. It's non-volatile, so when you turn it off, it retains your settings. So you might have been in the BIOS before, you might have fiddled about the settings, and it will retain those settings when you save them. Normal size, quite small, about 1 to 2 megabyte. It only needs to be enough to store the BIOS and the kind of what's called the bootstrap. It's incredibly fast as well. So if you want to know a little bit more like A-level sort of standard, they're expecting to know about the speed of ROM. And ROM's often used in areas where it's really important it's got a really timely response, such as like a live heart monitor or a plain auto pilot, because there's no good waiting for it. It's got to have a guaranteed response. So hopefully that's been quite good for you. In the meantime, what you could do, if you finish all of this, you could go on code.org, or you could go on any coding website to do a little bit of coding, and that's what you'll be doing tomorrow. So hopefully that's been useful for you. Make sure your books are spot on, because you're due about a check as well to check they're okay. Remember, homework, if it's not done, it needs to be done for tomorrow. I've put some spare sheets at the front. If it's not done, you'll be doing it next week on detention instead. But that will also mean it's really hard for me to give you a 1 to 9 grade when the only test that I've gave you to kind of assess your progress you have not filled in. So therefore, really, I've got to put you down as a 1. Okay, so hopefully I will be back on Monday. Tomorrow will be a program, and again, it'll be a quick video, and I'll do a few little tasks for you to have a go at. Thank you.